We're rolling. Welcome to the REI Rookies Podcast, Real Estate Investing Rookies Podcast, episode number 66, wherein we invite you to follow us on our journey towards financial freedom using the power of real estate. I'm Jack Haas, and Josh is enjoying some family time on a short vacation. Here at REI Rookies, we believe in a couple key principles. The best way to retain information is by teaching it to others. And number two, a rising tides lift all boats. We're not competitors, we're a community. So let's get into some real estate investing. Well, everybody, we have a special guest today's episode. We have Gino from Jake and Gino. They've written a best-selling book. You can find it on Amazon called Wheelbarrow Profits, and has amassed a portfolio of over 900 apartment units in over 5 years. Today, we will be chatting about some strategies and mindset on what got them into real estate and what has propelled them forward. So thanks for joining with me today, Gino.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Could you I know you've probably given this spiel before, but can you give us a little background on what you and Jake have been up to and what got you, let's just start, what got you into real estate investing?
I think that's the most important question for anybody, is not just my story, but why is anybody pursuing real estate, right? I mean, I think real estate has the ability for somebody to build a business and to build a lifestyle, which I didn't have in my former business. I used to own a restaurant, and it was not 24/7 because I had family members working with me, but it was the holidays, it was the weekends. After 20 years, you get tired of that, right? You get burned out. You say to yourself, is there more in life other than just working for a week and getting a nice salary, nice paycheck? I just got burned out by that. I needed a change, and I had always done real estate. My parents were both immigrants, and they said, real estate's a good place to put money, but they had the long-term game. Buy one property here, pay it down a little bit, and that just wasn't enough accelerant for me. I just wanted to get out of the restaurant business, and I was fortunate to find Jake. He was a pharmaceutical rep doing catering at my restaurant. We connected. He was living in New York. He saw the light at the end of the tunnel in New York 6 years ago, as far as what's going on now, as far as the higher taxes, the higher cost of living. So he went down to Knoxville, Tennessee, and I said, let me follow you down there as far as the market. And we got fortunate. We started buying about 5 years ago. The market's a great market. It's still expanding down there. And, that's the reason why I got into real estate. So anybody listening to the show, I think just do a deeper dive in yourself. And, you have to find the reason why you do anything in life, whether it's investing in real estate, whether it's continuing with a job. If you have a strong enough why for something, you'll figure out how to do it.
Yeah. So one of the things that is interested me about you two, and I've caught you guys on a couple other podcasts. You didn't really spend a lot of time on the single family homes, right? You jumped pretty much right into the multifamilies. And it seems like that's where most people kind of try to progress to.
Yes.
And you jumped right into it. Can you tell me about what made you decide to do that?
Well, sure. I mean, I was working a full-time job. I was actually, in the beginning, I've got 6 kids, so I've got a lot of mouths to feed. So I said to myself, I'm working a lot of hours. I don't want to do something that's going to get me another job. I don't want to fix and flip. I'm already paying a ton of taxes. So I did a podcast with a guy named Dave Zook, really high-level investor. And he had a really good high-paying job like I did. But he said to himself, what investment can I help me out with my tax situation? And I'm not going to create another full-time job. And to me, it was multifamily investing. He's into ATM machines now also, which is another amazing business for tax purposes. But I said, multifamily, I can do that. I had a fourplex. I had a little commercial building. I can do these investments, quote unquote, part-time and still have my restaurant. Because I didn't think I would ever leave that restaurant business. For some reason, I had a limiting belief. I said, I'm stuck here. This is all I can do. This is my skill set. So I started out doing it. And if I said to myself, if I start out with single family homes, it's going to become a job. I have to fix it, flip it, go on the job site, get contractors. I really didn't want that. So foolishly enough, thank God, I said, let me start with the multifamily space. And anybody out there, anybody can start with the multifamilies. I think there's the limiting belief that you need money, you need resources, you need a specific skill set. All these things you can get if you educate yourself. And I had gone through a couple of different coaching programs, and I had gone to get certified as a life coach to work on personal development. So I had all that working for me. I just didn't jump into multifamily, blind-eyed. I went and I got a lot of training from a couple different mentors. I learned how to underwrite deals. I learned how to analyze markets, and that really helped me out. So I'm glad I didn't get stuck in the single family home trap. There's just too much competition in that space. There's so many guys in that space thinking they can't progress to multifamily. They stay at the single family home space, and there's a big reason for that. Everyone buys a house. Everyone feels comfortable with buying a house and thinking that translates into a business. And I think 5 and 6 years ago, if you're buying single family homes, that was great because you're buying with 30, 40, 50, 60 cents on the dollar. But now it's progressed so high to the point that you're not really almost buying retail. So there's not much more appreciation going on in that market. So it's difficult and it's competitive right now.
Yeah, we're experiencing that a little bit. Thankfully, as long as Josh and I kind of stick in that single family home, we did just pick up a 12-plex not far from here. But that was almost by accident, if you will. As we're so marketing so heavily in our area, other things start to get caught in the net. Mm-hmm. So, knowing a little bit about what single family investors do, you mentioned mindset. What do you think is the biggest hurdle for people when it comes to mindset and moving their thought process from the single families to the multifamilies or going to those bigger purchases? I know one of those mindsets is that I've started to learn is that there are bigger deals to be had. Like a lot of people that I've talked to in the multifamily space, they're a little bit more agreeable to carrying back notes. There's different type of strategies to be had there that you may not be able to find in a single family transaction.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot. I'm going to unpack this. Give me a minute or two to talk about this because it's really important. First thing I think people need to focus on is focus on what you want, right? What do you want from an investment? I can ask you what you want, and I'll tell you about 80 to 90% of the people on this show listening will say what they don't want. That's the first problem, right? So, what do you want from your investment? What I wanted from an investment was I wanted to work a little bit less, try to create some passive income from it, right? I wanted to get some massive tax benefits from it. And ultimately, I didn't even know we did this, but I was able to create a business within a business. And let me explain what that means. We're coming up with a slogan called multifaceted multifamily. What does that mean? You can do this in the single family home space, but what multifaceted multifamily simply meant was we bought an asset like you bought your 12-unit apartment complex. From that individual asset, you want to generate additional revenue spokes because everyone talks about how you get multiple streams of income. But how do you really do that in life? I'm not talking about opening up a car wash and then have a carpet cleaning business and then have a restaurant. I'm talking about from your single investment of that multifamily, you can create multiple streams that are directly correlated to it. I've had my fist up showing you what revenue or what the spoke of the wheel looks like. The first one we created was a property management company. So our property management company was used to work with this investment, work on, growing it and taking care of it and controlling it. And from that, we're generating revenue fees. All of a sudden from that first one, about a year later after we bought up to 200 units, we created an education piece to it. The education is a second component of growing your business or of actually expanding the multiple stream of income. We created Jake and Gino, created Wheelbarrow Profits. We started writing a book and creating education videos. So that's another way to generate revenue from a multifamily investment. The third one that we're doing right now is our syndication company. We're starting to syndicate deals, raising money for our deals and creating a syndication company from it. The next one that anybody can do in this business is all of a sudden you find a plumber or you find an HVAC guy or an electrician, any kind of service company, they can open up a business and service your multifamily properties and run the business itself. Another one that we're going to do is why not a brokerage company? A brokerage company that services your multifamily properties. You start sourcing deals. You have those deals. If you can't take them down yourself, you sell them to your investor list. And if not, you just start sourcing out to other people. Great way to leverage off-market deals. And what does this have in common? Every single business feeds every other business. The education company is used as a leverage for credibility. Now, when a broker comes and talks to me, I can give them my book. I can give them my education course. When I have an investor who approaches me, they love the podcast. I can say, hey, by the way, I've got education. This is how we do it transparently. So they all feed off of each other. And that's the amazing thing that we stumbled upon in multifamily. And to give you an example in the single family space, if you have single family homes, look at it as a business. You can start the same exact model. You have a little residential brokerage. You start fixing and flipping. You start a construction company. You have a title company, possibly. You work with an attorney. You have a mortgage broker business. You can do some private lending. All of a sudden, you have a home and auto insurance business that's tied into it. So you can see the ramifications of, I'm not saying single family home is better or not better, but look at it as just not that one individual investment, but try to create a vertically integrated business where you're creating and controlling all those parts of your business. And you have to do it on your own. I would never have been able to do this on my own unless I had a partner like Jake to handle the operations. And as you start scaling up, you get these different ideas. So I think it's important to look at multifamily or single family as a business opportunity to actually scale up and to create those multiple streams of income. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's a really interesting mindset there. I mean, I haven't heard a lot of people explain it like that,
Jack, the thing is, I didn't know about it a year or two ago. We were just doing it intuitively, right? We started an education company because it was fun. I mean, but you start educating people and people start trusting you and liking you. Then all of a sudden, like you said with multifamily, wow, I can't get into it because I don't have the money. Money is a big mindset that you had asked for, right? Well, I can have an investor meetup or I can do a live event like we're doing in October, get 200 people to come to the live event. They like me. I'm not selling myself. It's just an opportunity. If you like to invest with us, hey, come invest with us. I'd love to have you on our team. And all of a sudden, the education is helping the syndication business. So this is how you get into it. And if you can't do a multifamily on your own, go out and start talking to people and start raising money for other people's deals. That's how you can get into it. I've learned a new term, a sub-syndicator. You find the syndicator who's raising money. You don't have the platform. You don't have the credibility, but you have some friends that you like and you want to put their money somewhere. You make sure the syndicator is really a great sponsor. You like him. You trust his deal. But this all comes down to educating yourself. And like the richest man in Babylon, you have to be like Arcad. You have to work hard. You have to know how to underwrite a deal. You have to know all the ramifications of what goes into the multifamily. And once you do that, the opportunity, like you said, that 12 units is just going to come into your life because you're prepared for it. And once you're prepared for it, you'll be able to see that 12 unit as the opportunity. If you're not prepared for it, that'll go right by you. And you'll be like, how do I get into multifamily? Well, I'm telling you right now, that's how you get into it. And a lot of students start out that way. And if they don't have the credibility themselves, they can leverage up somebody else's credibility. And then from there, hey, sky's the limit from there.
Well, just to go back on one thing, you mentioned your partnership with Jake. I think that's another thing that's a little unique with you and Jake, and Josh and I are a partner here. I usually see a lot of one-man shows when it comes to real estate investing. Can you talk a little bit about your partnership, how you found each other, how you've made those arrangements? I mean, I found that partnership with Josh has been, it's compounded on each other. It's not a 1 + 1 = 2 scenario.
Nope.
When you find the right partner, it's a multiplier. So how do you find that?
I mean, for me, I always had partners. I was in the restaurant business for 20 years with my brother. I could trust him implicitly. Did I want to strangle him sometimes? Obviously, he's my brother. He's my younger brother. He obviously wanted to probably kick me in the balls too, but that's just the way partnerships go, right? Yeah. But I liked it because I could trust him. And I wanted to look at a partnership as somebody that I could trust, someone had the same ethics and morals as I did. The problem is Jake works hard. He probably works harder than me, and I work really hard. So I found somebody who was dedicated to work. I found somebody who wanted to buy multifamily, not fix and flip. So we have the same mindset on that. And, partnerships allow you to do is, believe it or not, it's an accountability partner. And for me, that was a huge piece because doing this on your own is really hard. We've gone through 5 deals this week. We've lost all 5 deals. You can lose heart really fast, right? The other thing is we're writing another book. Do I want to write another book? Do I want to spend so much money writing a book? No. But my partner kicked me in the butt and said, we got to do this. So obviously I'm on board now. So he pushes the right buttons. And the same thing with me. When I want to scale some part of the business, saying, listen, let's do this. Or do you think Jake wants to get on a plane, which he doesn't, and go to fly to our live event? I'm pushing him to do that. Or we're having a meet up in August in New York City. He doesn't really want to do that either. But when you have 2 guys that are working towards a common goal and you push each other, it makes you that much better. And you're able to do multiple things. He runs the day-to-day operations of the property manager. I oversee certain things, and I'm detached from that. So when something pops up, I can give him advice being detached from that, which is huge because when you're emotionally involved in something, higher emotions lead to lower intelligence. And you can't look at something objectively. I can look at that objectively. And the same thing with the education. When I'm doing the education day to day, he can look at that objectively and say, hey, listen, we need to raise prices on this, or we need to hire somebody else. And we hired Josh, our community director, 3 months ago. He really pushed me to hire him. And I was a little skeptical. I'm like, where are we going to get the money? Best thing I ever did in my life. If I hadn't had a partner, I'd still be doing this as a one-man show. So kudos to that. You need somebody to push you, to make you grow. And also you gotta have fun. I mean, I'm at the point when I became financially free that I wanted to work with people that I liked, that I trusted, and I wanted to be around. I was sick of working with people that were not motivated, that didn't think like me. So I've actually surrounded myself with some really smart people, really energizing people, really motivational people. I think that's what you have to look for in life. And if you become, and when you become financially free, you're like, wow, it's not about retiring. It's about doing something you really like, scaling something up, growing a business, and being able to get on podcasts, help people out, and monetize at the end of the day. So if you can monetize it, do what you want with the money, but it's really about just getting together and having fun, enjoying what you do.
Yeah, it's always interesting to talk about that because that is such a mindset shift. Josh and I came from the tech world. I was in a cube for 3 decades, which now I shudder about when I think about that. But can you talked about being in the restaurant business, and Jake was pharmaceuticals, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long were you both in those type of corporate type of jobs, and what did it take for you to finally decide to do real estate investing full time? Because that was when I finally made that decision. We actually recorded a podcast to record my anxiety when I submitted my resignation. So how did that break?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I could spend an hour just on that. But I think personally for me, I can't speak for Jake, but I knew that he hated his job. 8 layoffs in 6 years. When we bought our first property, I remember him coming home, laying out the cash on the drawer. And that's when the entrepreneurial and the business mindset set for him, because I was always an entrepreneur. I always had the restaurant. I was always working. I hadn't gotten a paycheck from somebody in the last 20 years. So I knew what it was to do a paycheck. I knew what it was when it snowed in January. I'm not getting paid for that week. He didn't experience that. He had the paycheck coming in. So his first deal was like, wow, game on. I saw a light bulb. I remember him taking, pictures of the cash and going, someone's actually paying me now. And it's funny, a year after we bought that property, February of 2014, was when he actually quit his job with the pharmaceutical. It only took him a year and a half after we bought our first deal to scale out of there. For me, it was, after 2008, everyone blamed the economy, the recession, whatever. I went to coaching school because, the midlife crisis hits everybody else differently, right? Mm-hmm. I wasn't looking for the toys. I just wanted to continue to grow in life. I wanted to be able to contribute, and I wanted to have my kids look at me and go, well, Dad is doing a great job. He loves his job. He wants to go to work, because working hard is great, but it's not what's going to make you money in life anymore. I call it the Holy Trinity: working hard, working smart, and then if you can work passionately, all 3 of those, dude, that's the nirvana. So I was always working hard. Then I started working smarter, and now, the third one is working passionately. So for me, March of 2016 is when I left the restaurant business. Everyone remembers certain dates. I remember May 17th, 1994 is when we bought the restaurant. March of 2016 was when I left. And, just a note of caution to everybody: you don't have to leave. I didn't leave full time. What I did is, the October before, I told my mom and my brother, I said, listen, I'm going to stop working. I'll only work on the weekends. So I was like weaning myself off to see if I really like to do it. And if I failed, I could always go back to work. I can always find another job. So that's the fear. I look at it now, and I ended up moving down to Florida about a year ago. And I made the decision. I said, if I fail down here, I can always go back to New York. What is the worst thing in the world? I think we'll have to list what's the worst thing in the world that can possibly happen, the pros and the cons. And I will guarantee you the pros usually outweigh the cons. And if there is a fear factor involved, that's why you need to have a strong team around you. You need to have a wife who supports you. You need to have, kids that you can explain to them, hey, listen, this is why we're doing this. And if it doesn't work, there's always a plan B. You can always go back. But if you don't take that risk, you're going to be in doubt in your life for the rest of your life. If I'm stuck in the restaurant, what could it be not being there? So I think that people have to take a look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting you say it that way, because I always go down the avenue of when I'm making a decision like that, what's the worst case scenario? Well, the worst case scenario is I end up back in a cube. Like really,
right?
when you think about it. So, well, what am I really worried about? It kind of puts things into perspective.
Yeah.
Jumping back to the syndication, you mentioned now that you're starting syndication, but what I think is really interesting is that you've been able to basically amass a portfolio of I think you've probably exceeded 900 apartment units by now. But you did all of that without syndication prior to this. How did you manage to pull that off? I mean, that is a lot of units.
Well, it's from trial and tribulation. Before I started buying with Jake, I made a couple of mistakes. I went into the mobile home park space with a guy who was a terrible sponsor, lost money there. I had bought a strip mall up in New York, commercial mixed-use property, lost money there. I ended up focusing on multifamily, so I really did my education, really learned, and I did not invest in my backyard because that's not where it was up in New York. So I really learned the space, and we did things backwards. Usually guys who get multifamily like to syndicate deals first. Jake and I, we just tipped our toe in the water, and we found our first deal, and it was like, wow, this is great. We made money. We call it the refinance and roll, where we actually increased the net operating income of the property. We refinanced the money out. We didn't go on vacation. We put the money back into our next deal. So our second deal was 4 months after our first deal. It was 36 unit. We brought a third partner on. My brother had partnered with us on the first deal. So the second deal, we brought another partner on that I knew. He had a really strong balance sheet, smart guy, but didn't know anything about real estate, but was just an amazing investor. And he's a partner in all of our other deals now. We bought the 36 units, and then we saw the writing on the wall. We said, this is what we got to do. So we tried to control in-house. And, Jake likes to say he calls himself an equity hound. Transactions pay the bills, but equity makes you rich. And as entrepreneurs, your employees probably get paid more than you do, right? But you're working for that equity. And it's the same thing in real estate, I think. I mean, a lot of these deals, sometimes the cash flow is not as much as you like it to be. But if you're able to add value to the property, you can raise that NOI. I mean, a lot of our deals, we double the income on these properties. So when you refinance the property out, your mortgage payment goes up, but the income on the property more than substantiate the mortgage payment increase. You take that money, you're diligent with it, and you just roll it into the next deal. That's what we were able to do. And there comes a time when you run out of money. So we're at 909 units right now. We're looking to put another 90 units under contract. So it gets just below 1,000. And then as we're doing that, I think the syndication piece is there because we have a big investor database. So for us to be able to target these bigger deals, these 15, 20, $25 million deals, I think syndication is going to be a tool in the toolbox. It's only a tool in the toolbox. If you don't want to do your own, you have the ability to use the syndication piece.
Can you talk a little bit about how some of the changes that you would recommend people taking a look at in making a positive impact on NOI? You mentioned a couple things already, but that's really of interest because
Sure.
I mean it could be something as little as making sure that you have coined laundry, I suppose. But give me some other strategies there.
Sure. So what I'll do is I'll leave a link on the bottom of your show notes. I wrote 15 ways to increase NOI. But basically, when you're looking at a property, we target mom and pops, right? Mom and pop investor who's been at the property for the last 20 years. He's owned it. And there's a lot of things that you'll look at these properties. They have the same characteristics. They're motivated. But a mom and pop could be a lawyer who was on the property for 10 years, who's in partnership with a regular guy. They're fighting. There's acrimony. There's partnering fighting. Something's going on. And a lot of the times you take these properties over, these mom and pop owners haven't raised rents for the last 5 years. Jake calls it the death spiral. Don't call me. Your rent is $600. I'm not fixing anything. We love those properties. That's what we like to target. So the first thing you always do is you always do an analysis of market rents. You want to make sure there's something called the loss to lease. If the market's renting for $600, but your apartment you're looking at is $500, there's a loss to lease of $100 there. So you're able to raise those rents right away. The second thing is you want to look and make sure they're charging fees. Are they charging for application fees? Are they charging for late fees? Are there pet fees on the property? Another huge benefit. I mean, if you're looking at a 2 or 3 unit property, not a big deal, but when it's 50, 60 units and they're not doing applications and an application fee is $50, big generator where they're not charging for pets at $15 to $20 a month for a pet. That's a huge revenue generator. You mentioned laundry. Laundry is massive in our thing. It's a great amenity for the tenant, and it's also able for you to generate fees. We get a 60-40 split with our laundry provider. They'll come in, they'll put the new machines, they'll give you a little bit of money up front, and then you split revenue with them. We'd love to do that. Look for cable contracts. If you're buying a 50, 60, 100-unit property, make sure there's no cable contract on there. You can give a cable company an exclusive. They can write a check to you. Other revenue generators, I mean, we're getting into the cell phone tower thing now where we have, the 1,000 units. We haven't gotten one yet, but it's out there. So if we can get one, let's get one. People will do vending machines. Not as a big revenue generator for us, but it's something where if you can hook up with a regular renting guy who's got a route, let him put a couple of machines in your property, split the revenue, and have him actually, provide a service to the tenants. Parking. Reserve parking, if you want to start doing carports where they can actually, pay for reserve parking, because a lot of cities have a demand. There's not enough parking. Mm-hmm. Another one we've seen is people have ground floor apartments. They'll do little backyards, little fencing backyards, and they'll charge an additional $50 or $60 a month, which is amazing. You have a fitness center on the property. Hey, want to get a yoga person in there? Start charging people to use the studio, and it also generates the community. You want to have that community feeling on your property. So those are just several that we've been able to implement. But I'll leave I'll leave that article in the show notes for you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And well, it looks like we've been chatting for almost half an hour already, and I think I could probably keep going. It's been really interesting. But like I promised, I won't take up too much more of your time here today. But as always, really appreciate your time, Gino. I will leave those links in the show notes for people. And where can they find you?
JakeandGino.com. We have a podcast on iTunes called Wheelbarrow Profits. We've got a lot of articles on our website. So if you want to go on there, start taking a deeper dive. It's broken up to buy right, manage right, finance right. We've got over about 140 podcasts. We've been doing it for 3 years. So start with all that stuff. Start consuming stuff on websites. Start reading about it. And I think the most important thing is start doing it from people who are doing it themselves. My mantra is learn, do, teach. So I learned it, I did it, and now we're teaching it. And it's important to start doing with guys who are in the market that they can teach you, because the market's ever changing. So what worked 2 years ago is not working today. So, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I can't stress that enough. We've run into, even in the Fargo, we have a bunch of traveling education groups that come through the market. You know who I'm talking about, Gino.
Yes.
But more times than not, they are people who are just regurgitating the script, mm-hmm. and they haven't actually done it themselves.
Yes, yeah, and they give us a bad name. They give the education space a bad name, because unfortunately, you'll spend $100,000 on a college education, but you won't spend $2,000 to learn how to properly underwrite a deal. It's mind-boggling, but I can understand the reservation about it, because you hear these guys and they're always upselling, they're always selling something else, and people need to understand that they're investing in themselves. Just find the right person to invest with. Find the right person to take that journey, because it's important. Because it's not only the education piece, it's that you want to belong to a community of like-minded people who are going to hold you accountable and who are going to grow with you and have the same reservations with you, because you have that cognitive dissonance. Mm-hmm. Once you buy the product, well, did I make the right decision? Well, you need somebody behind you saying you did make the right decision, and it's not the product. It's more of what the mindset is, and you can learn the mechanics. It's not hard to underwrite a deal. It's not hard to select the market, but if you don't have the confidence to do it, or you don't have the follow-through to do it, like a lot of people don't, that's where the community comes into play.
Yeah, and every penny that I've spent on my education when it comes to real estate has given back more than I can. I mean, the ROI is off the board.
And whatever you learn will always be with you. And it's funny, because that one golden nugget, I mean, like that one person you meet, that one connection you make, it's like, wow, if I had not done that, it would not have led me to this person, which would lead me to this deal, which would lead me to this market. So the whole thing is just to do a few minutes a day, to stay connected. If you're working full time, spend 15 or 20 minutes a day and make that one little progress. You're climbing the mountain. Don't worry about the mountaintop. As you're climbing the mountain, enjoy the climb and just notice what you're doing, because those little things make all the difference in the world.
So great way to end the show. So thank you again, Gino. We will leave those links in the show notes. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for us? Let us know at info@reiRookies.com. Please provide us any feedback. How's the audio quality? Do you like the video? And if so, please find us on Twitter or Facebook at REI Rookies. And if you are in the situation where you're analysis paralysis, or you have some money sitting on the side and want to participate in some of our activities, head over to investwithbpp.com. If you like what you're hearing, we really appreciate you liking and sharing these videos and audio by finding us on Facebook and Twitter. Remember, get off the bench and get into the game. We'll see you next time.